pacemaker firmware, if you're writing space shuttle software, you're going to use different software development practices in general, and definitely around AI. Okay, that's different than a marketing website for your uncle's construction business, which is, by the way, how it started.
Yeah, and to take it even a step further back in how humans and computers interact in your kind of software development lifecycle, you have an idea. You come to a solution, and then you code it, and then it runs on hardware somewhere, is my very simplistic view of software development. There's a lot of caveats in there, there's a lot of people involved and things involved. If we go back to the 20th centuries, you have punch cards. In the 50s, you were manually doing things, you were very low level, close to the machine. In the 60s and 70s, you started to get a little bit higher, C, assembly. A little more humanness came into it, like a little more English in the language, if you will, a little more readability. Jumping ahead to 2000s, you get a little higher level. You come to having code run on further from the machine. Pete and I, for instance, web engineers, we write JavaScript that runs in a browser, that runs on an OS, that runs on the hardware. So it's very much further from the machine. And then going even further, here we are in 2025, you have an idea and you have a solution, but now you go into ChatGPT or a Claude and be like, let's do it. And those kinds of things is where we see the market changing and the career changing. One thing we don't see changing, and is probably the premise of this entire talk, is there's always a human involved. Your human comes up with the idea, come up with some sort of solution along with the tool maybe, but you are still there along with the tool itself. If we get to a point where your coding is just coming up with a product and selling it and making money, that just doesn't really make sense to me. Oh, totally forgot this was there. If you're using agentic coding and you have things running in parallel, that's a whole different ballgame too. All right.
Yeah, also completely exhausting. I don't know if you guys have tried that. Man, whew, that tires me out. Okay, so a little bit of our quadrant thunder was stolen by those jerks, Adam and Sam. And they missed my joke about, like, if you put a quadrant diagram in a spreadsheet, like, or in a slideshow, then you get to, like, bump your consulting rate, like, double. Gardner taught me that, if nothing else, from the corporate world. You know what I'm talking about. And people pay so much to get on that chart. It is not accurate. So this is yet another chart, but I'll quickly lay it out. So what we're going to have going up the left side is how much we think humans will have an impact on the engineering process, okay? So like, think about it as like, as you're picking someone, like how much is this person going to make a difference on a specific sort of skill and competency? What we're gonna be doing is laying out skills, competencies in this grid in a post-AI world, okay? So this might look a little different. I'm not gonna show you like a previous version, but this version is how we were imagining the change, sort of the delta happening. Like, will humans have more impact in this particular competency that's part of the software development process or less? And then the other axis is going to be the importance. So how much does the new AI world change the value of specific skills, because we expect, you know, well, we'll get into that. Okay, don't get ahead of yourself. Okay, so looking at this bottom left side. So these are less important, less human, is kind of what we're thinking here. A lot of rote stuff. Right? And you know, this is a partial list, of course. Different people also will probably categorize different, you know, edge cases differently here, but I think we can probably all agree, if you've messed around with AI coding tools, like the more simplistic, more patterned, more predictable, then the more likelihood it's just going to basically be kind of commoditized, because kind of anybody can get this for free. So it's not like you need someone who's really good at like any of these skills to do a better job, because AI is really commoditizing these skills. They're basically, you're getting a lot of them almost for free. You know, it's just oversight is the job now. Okay, now these are skills that we think there will probably be a little less call for them, but they're still very reliant on people. A lot of niche skills that are maybe not going to be super broadly applicable, but they're still going to be around. But you know, you wouldn't expect them to like live in the AI training set, because you're already out of that sort of bell curve of like what people have been training on, and also like what value the marketplace is going to have for it. Now, in the bottom right here, we have these are skills we think are going to be more important, but the humans might not have as big of impact. A lot of connecting code here, a lot of like, this is sort of like lighter weight code, rapid prototyping. Like, if you don't need to have a really good functional React app, yeah, you can spin one up really fast without too much skill. It's getting it to, beyond prototype stage where you start to really feel the pain and suffering of too much AI code. So these are skills we think are going to be important. Like, I think you're going to be pushing against the boundaries of like architectural constraints because the volume of code that we can create is so much higher potentially that you're going to have to think higher level more quickly. So these are things that we're going to have to work on. And then this is kind of the sweet spot, right? It's always the top right quadrant where like, oh, that's what just focus on that. Why don't you tell me this other crap? And so these are the skills we think are really high leverage in this AI stack here. So just to take that top right corner and just focus on these a little bit. So if you kind of read through this list, again, all these things are debatable, by the way, like, whether one skill showed up in this bucket versus another, totally debatable. But one thing to note is that there's a lot of soft skills in here. There's a lot of skills that involve, like working with the team and figuring things out. There's a lot of skills that involve maybe a lot of experience, which is a little intimidating because I think there's a little bit of anxiety, especially for young people who are getting into the industry, that, oh, you took away all that like rote stuff. That used to be what managers just spun off to get people started. So I want to address that really quick because I think there's a little bit of anxiety around like, well, how do we train people up if all the skills are high-level experience required skills? How are we going to get more people? What's our long-term play here? I actually have a really positive spin on this, and I would love to talk to people afterwards because I tend to get way too optimistic about things and need to be like, pop my bubble. So I'm looking forward to this. But my model for how this works is that I don't see any reason why these skills that we're looking at on this screen right now are not skills that every single person at every single level in their career, every experience level can work on. Like, why on earth wouldn't a fresh graduate, why would they not be working on their risk analysis and QA strategy skills? Why would they not be working on their product thinking? And with the tools, like, there's no reason they can't create the same way a person with more experience can create with these tools. They'll still need oversight, but I think what it means is that, like, we're gonna need more people in this category, and we're gonna need to train them up. And I don't see any reason why you can't learn these things as long with it. Like, it's not like you need to know how to put together boilerplate before you can figure out like why you should even test that thing, right? There's no reason why you need to know like the exact syntax of a for loop or the memorization of some API before you think about like the product for your consumers, right? I think that this is a great potential accelerant for other people to have broader perspectives on software. Okay, you can totally like shoot me down later, but that's a terrible idea.
And so to think about how those soft skills that Pete mentioned, and you're thinking about the candidate or you are the candidate, I'm going to simplify them into two buckets, and they don't exist in isolation. No quality of a candidate or a human exists in isolation, so they're going to differ. At some points, you're going to have people who are maybe stronger in their soft skills. They're a very good communicator, they're a great team player, they work really well on your team. Us in consultant roles, we work a lot with our clients. Yeah, unfortunately, the hiring process is very hard to scale. And so when you get to large amount of candidates and you want to start filtering that pipeline, you start to filter in more and more lead code style, if you will, problems to kind of get that. It's hard to talk about, we have just our experience, it's hard to kind of influence the entire market to make those changes because companies decide all the time.
We don't do that for what it's worth. So her question was about sort of, I think, puzzles and sort of brain teaser, lead code style parts of many hiring processes, and yeah.
Sorry, it's not related to lead code. That's more like a DSA, right? So it's not.
Okay.
It's more like a, let's say you're given like a triangle, it's facing this side, and then you are told choose the next puzzle or whatever. Like, it's not really related to any coding actually. It's more like they kind of check your ability to do things, and you have like minutes running, and you have to figure out.
It sounds like
yeah, it sounds awful, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that. But we don't do that, and that tests for something, but it's not a skill set that we value highly.
if the interview isn't based on the job function, if they're giving you interview tasks that are clearly unrelated to what you're going to be doing on the job, run away.
That's good.
That's
Probably
not
good
terrible, but, yeah.
So on the topic of what type of problem solving to present in interviewing, this is still in my mind kind of an open question. We had a round of interviewing recently. I was thinking about it because, so for instance, with these LLMs that we're using so much, it was Rebecca Parsons, I paraphrase something like, it's all hallucination, just some of the hallucinations are useful. It's like, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Surprisingly, we do that a lot. And so like if, not only an LLM, but us, like if I solve a problem, and you ask me how I solved it, there's a high likelihood that I'll just find a plausible explanation for how I solved it, but I was pattern matching. I really shouldn't advocate for more of these lead code style problems in interviewing because it's not in my favor. I kind of suck at them. But to their defense, it does seem like in that category there might be some way to try and measure that people are creating models in their mind and using those rather than pattern matching. But I wonder if you've explored that at all in interviewing, if you tried to find problems that prove that the candidates are not pattern matching, they're actually problem solving, while also people are saying try to make it close to the job, the workload.
Yeah, cool line of thinking. Not sure. I might challenge the premise a little bit because I'm not sure how different problem solving and pattern matching are. I think they're points in a spectrum, probably, and that's why I think LLMs are actually so fascinating. I think we're learning a little bit about how we think through them, because sometimes it really feels like they're reasoning and they have reasoning models, but it's really all pattern matching and statistics under the hood, and I think that's all we are too.
And to be fair, they're very good at mental problems.
Yeah, but that, your point is still taken though. It's a challenging, just trying to distinguish between, yeah, go ahead. Do we have time? No more time. Thanks everybody.
I think that's the way, yes.